Way back in film school, one of my favorite professors recommended me this book, Like Brothers by Mark and J. Duplass. And I finally got around to reading it. And by the way, Charlie, if you end up watching this book is hilarious and super insightful, so thank you. The Duplass brothers are this awesome creative directing duo that killed it at Sundance a bunch of times and eventually grinded their way into awesome careers, which is exactly what I would like to do. So I thought they would be a great jumping off point to expanding my moviecation, which is movie education, TM. I started with This Is John in 2003 and ended with Togetherness, which both happen to be two of my favorite pieces of their content. Hours and hours of watching later, this is what I learned. So back when the Duplass brothers started, cameras were getting easier and easier to get a hold of. The barrier to entry to make a film was getting bigger and bigger, smaller and smaller. The barrier would be smaller, right? The barrier of entry was getting smaller and smaller, and it became super easy to make a movie. And so out of that, there was this movement called mumblecore. And mumblecore basically is this collection of films from the early 2000s that didn't focus on cinematography. The quality was super low in terms of audio and video, but the story and the performances were so good that it kind of outshined all that. Due to the lack of quality, it's really jarring for me, and I can never really get into it. But the Duplass brothers' writing and performances were so captivating that it pulled me out of the lack of quality and made me focus on the good stuff, like the writing, which is what mumblecore is all about, but this is it done right. Each conversation fully focused on the relationship between the two characters and the almost war between them, one having information and the other one trying to get a hold of it. They tapped into this hyperrealism that seems so refreshing compared to all the melodramatic acting and writing that we're all so used to. Number 2, it's really about the people. One of the best parts about their style of realism is that it's embedded into the writing and the story. No matter what happens to the world or to the characters, always wraps around back to the relationships between all the characters. The best example of this is their film Baghead. The movie is basically about a group of actors that go to a cabin to write a movie, and the tensions slowly rise between all of them as their relationships and what they mean to each other slowly intertwine and swell. The characters become so obsessed with their own issues and relationships that a danger slowly rises in the background until it's too large to ignore, and then the focus shifts. What's so great about the Duplass brothers' approach is that normally the rest of the film would be about the danger, suspense, and gore. They are super smart and keep the through line of the story, the relationships between each character, until eventually they fully develop and the danger dissolves, and it's like artwork. Number 3, the brotherly connection. Now, it's super apparent from reading the book and hearing about their history that the Duplass brothers love each other very much and have an extremely, I don't know how to put this, extremely unique relationship with each other. And this follows through to all the brotherly characters in all their films. Whether it's Baghead and his two best friends that have a weird connection, they'll do anything for each other. Or in Togetherness, again, two best friends that do anything for each other that have all these weird quirks. The Duplass brothers have nailed this down so well that normally this type of relationship would seem really weird and jarring, but they make it feel so natural. Again, it's just this other sort of realism that's laid into the foundation that makes you fully believe that everything that's happening in this world is real. In their movie Ted Who Lives at Home, they fully flip it. Instead of two brothers who love each other and have all these weird quirks, it's two brothers who can't stand each other. Again, they still have a really weird relationship that you fully believe because it's fully embedded into the story. The downturn in this is that since they understand brotherly love so well, a lot of the time the female part was kind of left out. I felt in almost all their work, all the female characters really flat and all their reactions were just extreme. They're almost like caricatures of what real women think and react like. But all this was totally fixed in Togetherness. Now, Togetherness is my all-time favorite piece that they made. What's great about Togetherness is that all the issues they had in the past, they're fully resolved. All the women are fully fleshed out. They have their own thoughts that make sense, and they're not just acting crazy for no reason or being vengeful for no reason. They're all so multi-layered and multifaceted. They have equal weight as all the male characters, and it works together. See what I did there? Togetherness, together. Hey. The final thing that the Duplass brothers completely nail, and the best thing I think I could pull from all their work, is they set the scene in the first 5 minutes perfectly every time. Ted Who Lives at Home, you're introduced to Ted, who happens to live at home, sitting on the toilet, recording himself on a voice recorder. He's sitting there talking about fate and his place in the universe and how he wonders about all of it and if there's anything out there for him. Not only does it set the tone perfectly for the entire film, it also introduces you to Ted, and you learn who he is, what he wants, and what he's afraid of, all within the first 5 minutes. All while he's sitting on the toilet. In Puffy Chair, their first feature film, the two main characters have an argument where you get to learn who they are, what their relationship is with each other, and you immediately find out what their problems are and what the through line of that story will be. The main character wants to surprise his dad. He has all these grand ideas, but he's kind of a douche and doesn't really think about his girlfriend. And that's pretty much the core of the story. If you look at any one of their pieces of work, you'll see the exact same thing. They're like seriously masters at this. I had a writing professor in college that told us that the first 10 minutes of our feature film could be boring if we wanted to. What's awesome about the Duplass brothers is the first 5 minutes aren't boring. They're super important. They hook you in, and you also learn everything without having to bore your audience. So, A+. There are like 100 more points that I could talk about because these guys are like low-key creative geniuses. And in their book, which I highly, highly, highly recommend you read, I'll put a link down in the description. They say that they figured that they would never be like one of the great filmmakers. Like they would never achieve like a cult following and create these like big, like scene-changing films. Hey, it's Tyler from the future. I'm editing this video right now, and I just want to say they didn't say that in their book. They were talking about the Coen brothers and how the Coen brothers have this vision that they always execute every time, and they realize that they are not the Coen brothers. And I did a bunch of other reading, and it's more like they don't admit that they have a specific style, but they do, and they're awesome. So that's what I'm trying to say in this part. I misquoted and misread. Maybe they think they'll be the best directors ever. I think they're up there. So that's it. Yeah, go back to what I don't remember what I was saying. It's something right here. And I like totally disagree. They have created and honed their own film language and style so well that there's so much to learn from their body of work. I know I learned a ton, and if you're into this nerdy stuff like I am, I know you will too. Mark and Jay, if this ever comes across your desk, thank you so much for all the work you've done. I've learned a ton. Let me know in the comments which filmography I should dive into next. And if you're not already subscribed, please consider it. If you have a chance, hit that little like button down there. It helps me out a ton. And it's free to do. You just go, that's it. Go watch a good movie. I'll see you next Saturday. Bye.